On this episode of Season 4, Let's Talk.
There's a story of how the band got started. There's a specific story how the band got its name also. Uh, it seems Ozzy Osbourne had come into possession of a book about the black arts. So he'd given it to Geezer Butler to just for safekeeping. He said, "Just keep it, and I'll get it from you tomorrow." So Geezer Butler took it home and he just kept it in his cupboard and went to, then when he went to sleep, in the middle of the night, he woke up and he saw this dark figure standing at the foot of his bed. He was so scared.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Rajiv Show, and I'm your host Rajiv Doreswamy. And this show aims to help reach out to those who are currently struggling in life and to remind you that life is indeed beautiful when you're inspired to make it your own. All right, folks, this is going to be a special episode. This time going to talk to my dad. Dad, how are you doing today?
Hey, baby boy, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Yes.
Hope you're staying safe.
Oh, yeah, safe and productive as usual. Anyway, could you
Very
give
nice.
listeners a little bit of background about yourself?
I'm Sudhakar and I'm a musician and I teach music at a school, at a girls' school, and I've been a musician for as long as I remember. Uh, and I'm a choir conductor by profession, and I'm also a teacher by profession. And I also teach privately. I train voices for the Trinity College of London exams, and I also play for a rock band. I love rock music, and I play classical music. I play almost all kinds of music, except rap, though. But yeah, I love rock music, and I love classical music, choral music especially. And so that's who I am.
I gotta ask, who were you in high school? Are you a bully or are you popular guy or who were you basically in high school?
Well, my high school, I kind of was on a very different trip. I was seriously into music. I was very crazy about my music. Uh, During my summer holidays, I used to play music for a evangelist, and she was quite popular. And I used to play the guitar for her whenever she went on occasions. And so uh, I used to do that, and music was a very important part of me. So I was very seriously involved with music. I was in my school brass band. I was playing the trumpet, and then yeah, basically that. Then music occupied a lot of my time. So I did have a lot of good friends. Then I studied out of town for for a year, and then I came back and I finished my 10th at another school. Uh, during my 10th, my final year in school, my music situation was not as active. I wasn't very active musically. But yeah, otherwise I'm pretty much that more of a music guy, and friends were only people who were appreciative of what I did. So I just hang around with people like that. So I was on a very different thing, not about being a bully, and I did not have time for things like that.
You've mentioned music a lot. I want to connect that word to the next question, that is, who is your greatest motivator and why? And I think in this context, what is your greatest motivator? Because I have a feeling you're going to say the word music again.
Yeah, yeah. When you say motivator, you're talking about what?
I'm talking about anything that motivates you.
Hmm. Well, I like to be good at what I do. I put in a lot of effort and try to be good at what I do. That is a motivation in itself. And whether it is teaching, or whether it is performing music, or whether it is doing something creative, whether it's composing, arranging music, I try to be the best at what I do. I really strive to be the best. Strive to, you know. So I take a lot of time, a lot of care, and when I do my work. So that in itself, trying to be precise and correct and exact is something that's a motivator in itself.
Interesting. And we're moving from your past to your present now. Is what made you who you are?
What what made me who I am is a very interesting question. Uh, Once again, the desire to be the best at what I did, and I really, because I came from very little opportunity. I came from very uh, what do you call this? Very minimal resources, and then I even when I got my first job and stuff like that, I was earning very little in life. Yeah. So but my focus was always on, I used every opportunity I got as an opportunity to move forward in life. Yeah, so whatever opportunity I got, whatever situation I was, just to give you an example, when I was staying in Baguio, Uncle Roger had just joined the Department of Health, and they wanted to have a small choir, and they wanted to do the Christmas program with a choir, with just the members of the office itself, just the office workers itself. And so they called me, and I was in a situation where people, many of them had very little experience singing in a choir, and they had no keyboard. That's the most, because that's a very important equipment I need when I'm teaching a choir,
Hmm.
and they did not have a keyboard, but I had to teach them. I taught them without a keyboard, and I somehow managed to train them to. They were not excellent to something, but they were happy at the end of it. They were happy that they were able to perform and stuff like that. I've been in situations like that, but then I used every opportunity as a learning experience,
Hmm.
because that's what's life. That's what life is all about. There are no mistakes in life, as far as I'm concerned. Uh, we may call them mistakes, but then those are situations where we had to go through, and that is the fire that we had to go through and come out in order to become better people as we go forward.
If today was yesterday, what would you keep and what would you let go of?
I don't think I will leave anything behind. I think I'll have to take everything with me, because everything that has been there yesterday and today is what I am. That what completes me.
What are your thoughts for the future and your future?
The future I do not know. I am not too thinking in those lines. So what is happening in the future, I have no idea. Have absolutely no clue, and it's best not to worry about it. And every day you do something looking forward to tomorrow, and make sure that you prepare something very good, and make sure you leave behind something very good. So for the future, I don't know. But for my future, yes, I like to leave behind a lot of good stuff. And one of the motivators, you are one of my motivators. It's like asking, what is your legacy when you go, when you leave this world? What your legacy are you leaving behind? Now, that is something I like to seriously keep in mind. I like to leave behind something which is really, really good for humanity, for people. So that is my future.
Interesting.
And thank
Um,
you for the motivational thing on Facebook.
yeah,
Hmm,
I do try my best to reach out to
good.
others. Moving on to the next subject, what inspires you So let me know when you're ready.
What inspires me? Beautiful things inspire me. I like to see a beautiful garden, or I like to go to a beautiful place, and those are inspirations. That those inspire me to create beautiful things and using music. So I like to see beautiful things. And now, yeah, once again, the desire to be the best, the desire to, uh, you know, work with, teach the people you're working with to be the best. To inspire other people also to be the best. Those things inspire me. Those things keep me. Those are my fuel. And so every time I get students to work with, and we start straight away working on a project, and that is inspiring in itself. Now that we have online classes, I've discovered something very exciting. I teach my students how to compose music, and I did not know I knew how to teach people how to do that. This is something I discovered. Now that discovery itself is exciting, so I want to explore that a little more. And every time I do a class, uh, I see comments on the thing. The class was very nice. Sometimes when I teach the very small kids, like the first grade one up to grade four kids, parents are sitting with them. So whatever music I do and whatever actions we do, I dance over here and everything. They see that also, and the kids also get excited, and they also keep dancing, and they loosen up. And to a large extent, even the parents join in. Some of them even messaged me and said we had great fun. The parents also join in and sing all children's song and dance and enjoy themselves. That is inspiring. When people come and say that whatever I did made them feel good about themselves. That is inspiring. You know, so inspiring other people, making other people happy is something that inspires me. Uh, that desire itself is very exciting. So, a lot of things. And I have one of the most exciting lives, I must tell, because I wanted to be a musician when I got my first guitar when I was in grade six, and there was no turning back. Before that, I wanted to be a pilot, but then uh, the guitar kind of changed the direction of where I am heading in my life. I want to be a musician from then, and then I landed up being a musician. Right here I am being a musician. I'm living and doing what I love doing, and discovering new things in the process. Now I've discovered virtual choirs, and I discovered video editing and thing, and I'm trying to put my choral performances into videos, and I'm having a great time. I love my life. Anyway, yeah, my kids also inspire me because one thing is my kids are generally my number one fans, and they also my number one critics. Like so, that kind of completes everything. And my kids are very inspiring. Yeah, my daughter never misses a show whenever I perform. My son never misses a show whenever I perform. It was always a joy to have you in the audience, and having a ball. I remember once when we gave you the video to record, and you were bobbing your head so much to our music, the video recording also was bobbing. I think I still have that video recording of one Freedom Jam, if you remember. Yeah, yeah, baby boy.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so my kids are inspiring. You inspire me, my baby boy.
Anyway, we're gonna talk about motivation and philosophy. Do you have a particular quote or a particular quotation by anyone? You've mentioned a lot in almost half of the interview is that you love music, which is already established. Is there a particular musician that musician's philosophy that you follow through, or a philosophy that you follow through that carries you throughout your entire working uh, your working life?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember the words of Bach. Mm, yeah, he said every composition is a work of prayer, and every performance is a work of worship. So that thing is very important to me. So every time I perform, whatever I perform, I make sure that there is the element of reverence in the performance. And there are a lot of other quotes, but yeah, that is the most significant.
All right. With that, we're just gonna go on a short break, and we'll
Mm.
be right back, folks. Calling in collectors from around the Philippines. Are you looking for a valuable history lesson about Baguio City? Or you just want to collect stuff that brings you back in time? Check out Hobby Depot Baguio, which is located at Kuwis number 8 Prudential Life Building below Jollibee, Assumption Road, Baguio City. You can also find them on Facebook at Hobby Depot Baguio. Hobby Depot Baguio, the one stop shop for everything hobby related. Hey folks, welcome back. I'm with my dad. We're having an interesting conversation about music, philosophy, and a little bit about my father. And now we're getting into my favorite segment of this conversation, which is, of course, music. Both of us started listening, started playing, started performing music. So it's form fitting to talk about music in this conversation. And my first question is, what are your top three genres that you listen to on a daily basis that inspires you to come up with your own taste, with your own signature style? Top three genres.
Ah, okay. Now you might find this strange, but for a musician, I don't listen to music too often, but I do spend a lot of time listening to music. I listen to all kinds of stuff. Generally, I listen to rock music. I do listen to a lot of classical music also, and I love watching a lot of orchestral videos, orchestra performances. So it's orchestral performances and rock music. Um, Now I'm involved with a lot of music in school, so I have to be updated because I have to teach my children also in school uh, rock music. So yeah, uh, so I
It's,
listen to a lot of rock music.
it's funny you mentioned because when looking back, the first time that I learned how to play the guitar, I think before I started playing the bass was playing a lot of Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. That's thanks to you. I still remember
Yeah, yeah.
that one DVD that I think that one DVD that got me hooked to Black Sabbath. I think that was the reunion with the original the quartet with Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Ozzy Osbourne, and uh, Bill Ward. That was the first. That was what got me, and then of course when you introduced me to Richie Blackmore and Deep Purple,
And you
that was
changed
fun.
your name.
Yeah, that was because of you guys. You and
Yeah, when I introduced you to Richie Blackmore, you changed your name.
yeah, because that's one
Uh,
phenomenal musician that I like to dissect. I actually wanted to talk about Richie
oh yeah.
Blackmore a lot. I mean, Richie Blackmore is a huge influence to not just my name. uh, it's funny when I play the bass. The earlier times when I used to play the bass, I used to play a lot of speed. I'm not saying that I could imitate a Blackmore style on the bass. It's more like I could play I could play is very fast, but it is somewhat imitating Richie Blackmore in some form or the other. Except I don't play with the pick. I know Richie plays with the pick when I've seen those bootleg videos where Richie used to take over the bass. It's funny. Rock music has a huge influence. I mean, yeah, and lately during the pandemic, I've been binge listening to a lot of albums, and it's one habit that I've picked up, and it's kind of interesting. And that's one thing about I encourage listeners, musicians who are tuning in. I do encourage them to tune in to listen per album. I mean, if you're listening, I don't know if you agree with me though. When
I agree
uh,
with you. Yeah, listening is a very important thing. Yes.
I mean, in terms of when you're listening to an entire record, in order to know the personality of the artist, it's good to know them front to back. And even though you're some of the songs may not agree with you, it's just that you have to learn to find out, what's the reason there. I mean, that's one thing. That's one creative point that I remember from my last years, especially when I was studying a lot of these musicians as well. I spent a hectic amount of time studying Richie Blackmore and their music, and I think uh, even when they changed their musicians, there were a lot of stories that somewhat connected to their music. I'm a huge Coverdale fan. Ian Gillan uh, is a bit okay for me. Uh, for those who are listening to this and huge Deep Purple fan, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm more of a Coverdale than Ian Gillan. What about you? Are you a Gillan or a Coverdale?
I like both of them. They're both good.
Uh,
They were both
something
good.
something about the blues tone that
And even
Coverdale brings.
there was this other guy also. Oh, there was a tribute to John Lord concert recently. It's on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen that.
Is
All the
this
bands that, all the Deep Purple lineup right through from beginning. They even had what's this guy's name? Brian, the vocalist of Iron Maiden. Uh,
yeah,
what's his
Brian, I
what's his
forgot
name?
his name. Yeah. Oh really?
Yeah, he also sings in that concert. There's a whole lineup, Ian Gillan and everybody. The big thing with an orchestra. It's a tribute to John Lord. You will like it. You should see it.
I
It's a
will
nice
check it out.
2 hour concert or something. A full concert is there.
Anyway, I'd
Yeah.
love to talk more shop with rock band. I mean, don't get me started with Black Sabbath. I mean, Black Sabbath is a phenomenal band. One thing that shocked me when you introduced me to Black Sabbath, and I still remember, and I do watch that snippet of that portion of that interview where Tony Iommi is Tony Iommi is a left-handed guitarist who lost his two fingers. When you told me that story, uh, I didn't believe you at first, but then but then after I saw the interview and I saw his finger, it was really an amazing amazing yet scary thought for a musician who is paralyzed but yet still chooses to play music for, you know I think they've done this for more than 50 years. And uh, to explain what we I meant by the Tony Iommi story, I think my dad knows this as well, is that Tony Iommi used to work in a sheet cutting molding factory or something. And then there was a time where someone used to cut the sheet of metal and used to give it to him for him to weld. But unfortunately, there was that one day where the cutter, the metal cutter was not available, and he was asked to go and do the business. And then there was a time where the metal cutter falls down onto his fingers, his middle finger and his ring finger, and then he had no choice to pull the ends off, and from that day onwards, I think he had this. He discovered an artificial way to replace his fingers, which is really interesting. Uh, for musicians, it's funny in this generation. I don't know. It's very weird that in this generation, even a slight dent, a lot of people are too highly sensitive. But looking at the passion for playing music, and I think that was the main reason why he had to tune down his strings, and he created this sound, the Black Sabbath sound, which is of course dropping the tuning. And I think my dad agrees with me because he was the one who educated me on this, and I'm also sharing this information. I've always wanted to share these information, and the philosophy of Black Sabbath is not as how you think it is. Um, my dad educated me on the fact that the story behind Black Sabbath music is it's not about uh, the imagery that people project it to be. And Dad, could you tell the folks who are tuning in about the philosophy of Black Sabbath?
Oh, Black Sabbath. Okay, now it's a very complicated story, but it's see, basically they used to play music like regular people, but then they were not going anywhere, and so one day they used to rehearse opposite a movie theater, and that movie theater used to play a lot of horror movies, you know, and it was always crowded, and they used to see a lot of people going to watch horror movies, satanic stuff and all kinds of things. So these guys suddenly had a idea. They said, why can't we write music about things like that? If people like that kind of stuff, then we'll write music like that. So they just got started and started writing music about. It was just something that youthful guys, trying to think out of the box and come up with an idea. And that's how Black Sabbath got started. And then they used to talk about basically their everyday life, how things, how things affected them, and so yeah. But
And
then there's a story of how the band got started. There's a specific story how the band got its name also. Uh, it seems Ozzy Osbourne had come into possession of a book about the black arts. So he'd given it to Geezer Butler to just for safekeeping. He said, "Just keep it, and I'll get it from you tomorrow." So Geezer Butler took it home and just kept it in his cupboard and went to, then when he went to sleep, in the middle of the night, he woke up and he saw this dark figure standing at the foot of his bed. He was so scared. And then after some time, that figure disappeared. And this is the story Geezer Butler tells. And then he says, after some time, he just suddenly remembered something about the book. And then he went to the cupboard to see that book was gone. So that was a very mysterious thing. And then they wrote about that event. He went and told the story to Ozzy Osbourne, and Ozzy Osbourne came up with a song which is called Black Sabbath. And that's how the band got the name Black Sabbath. They wrote the song first, and then they decided to call themselves Black Sabbath.
uh,
Yeah.
the phenomenal part about that album is that is the first album that they released, and I think the first part of the lyrics, because I remember I tune into from time to time. I always tune into Black Sabbath, that first album. The first lyrics that Ozzy Osbourne says is, "What is this that stands before me?" Is kind of scary, but yeah, it kind of connects. And yes, that's how that's
Yeah,
one.
because yeah, he paints the picture very nicely. That guy
It,
is very vivid. Once you know the story, yeah.
it's a very simple lyric, and somehow it grabs you. It grabs. There's one thing phenomenal about music, especially with some very nice lyrical content. I mean, for lyricists who come up with so many complicated words and supercalifragilistic and all that kind of weird spelling words, I guess my next question that is going to connect is, what are your thoughts in lyrics writing? I mean, do you think it's best to have those complicated storytellings, for a musician who's starting out, who's tuning into this episode?
I don't think it's absolutely necessary. You can use simple everyday words and come with composition. Bottom line is the kind of message you want to, you know. If you listen to music of Sting, he uses some really uh, high words, some very complex words. You listen to Ozzy Osbourne, his words are very simple, you know. And you listen to Dio, his words are kind of poetic, you know. So each one has their own, but still he uses some very simple everyday words, So it all depends. It's all, but the most important thing is to get the message across. Your words have to be under, your sentences, your thoughts have to be understandable, and that's what matters when
I
it's
think
coming to when.
uh,
Yeah.
I think the writer's block for certain lyricists. I think I do remember when I did attempt writing some lyrics myself, were the times where you can't really get a good story even if you're cocooned in the room. It's funny. It's really a hard. That's the one hardest portion. Spending time thinking, and that's one thing
Yeah,
for.
people who are creative, it's very important for you to be mobile.
Hmm.
I mean, you shouldn't stay stuck in one place. You should move around a lot. So when you move around a lot, then you what do you call this? Then your mind starts working a little more. One thing you need to understand is there are triggers in our head.
Hmm.
You go and you see a tree and see a particular shape of a tree. Something will trigger off in your head. That will open up some channels in your mind where you can come up with lyrics, or you look at a cloud formation, or you look at something, you look at a bike, you look at a car, something, anything can trigger off. So there are triggers, so you need to go and probably just go for a spin, or get out, go to a different atmosphere for some time, and just let your mind open up for a bit. Then then the block will be lifted. I have that problem also when I'm writing. Sometimes when I'm doing something creative, sometimes I'm staring at the laptop and not gone too much too far with anything. So I just leave it aside and then just move out, go out, or maybe take the car for a drive if it's in the daytime. Something. That's the best way to get out of a writer's block.
We've opened a lot of stuff here in this conversation, and I'm hopeful. I mean, it's unfortunate that we have to cut our segment short, but I'm hopeful that the next coming seasons we dissect we dissect music in its from its large form to its small. That'd be an interesting season for us.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah.
the thing. Um,
Why not?
if people want to get in touch with you via social media, how do they connect with you?
Oh, I have a Facebook page. Plus, I have a YouTube channel in my name, Sudhakar John Doreswamy. I have a YouTube channel. You can go see my work. I have another YouTube channel, which is a official channel of the choir that I direct called Rhapsody Bangalore. That has another YouTube channel where I have a lot of my videos of my performances are there. You can connect with me there. You can connect with me through Messenger. I'm on Facebook. So
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Um, with that in mind, I want to thank my father first of all for this interview. I'm sure that a lot of people who are tuning in have learned a thing or two about hard rock and heavy metal, and I'm sure they were also educated in some form or the other. Thank you for doing this interview with me.
inviting me. I feel honored to be in your show.
And I'm looking forward to the next coming seasons where we're gonna dissect music, and hopefully, I'm also looking forward to a roundtable conversation with another fellow musician, and that would be fun. That, having two perspectives of how music comes together and brings motivation and inspiration for others. I'm looking forward for that.
Very
And
good. Even I'm looking forward to it.
all right, with that in mind, I hope my listeners enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next episode. Cheers, stay safe, folks.